tell me about a time when you had difficulty communicating with someone. How did you handle it? Last year, I was working in the bakery department of a Fortino's grocery store, and when I was still quite new to the job, maybe a month in, I had a question to ask for my coworker that was there with me working on the shift. It was just about how many days should I put on this particular item because the chart that they post to the back wall for for newer employees to memorize was missing from its regular spot. So a fairly standard question that I was assuming would be fairly easy to answer for someone like John, who had told me beforehand that he'd worked there for over a year, so he'd be able to help me when he could. Um, and when I asked him what how many days I should put on it, he his he just looked like had a look of confusion on his face and asked me to repeat the question. And the first time around, I didn't think anything of it because maybe I misspoke, maybe I talked too quietly. You just don't know. So I tried again, and he still didn't seem to get it. Um, and after a couple of more times where um, what I was trying to do was in my head before asking again, rewording the question, trying different ways to see if this is how he would get it. But after 4 or 5 times, I was starting to wonder if something was wrong because um, in my head, in my head, I was thinking this is the clearest possible way I could ask this question, um, and was confused myself why it wasn't coming across. After the sixth time or so, he finally did get the question and repeated it back to me to make sure he heard it correctly, and I said yes, and it was pretty much my question word for word. And I said, yes, that's what I needed to know. And thankfully, the next task I had to do involved going out onto the floor and putting items out for customers to look at. So I had an opportunity to be out there myself and try to figure out um, what what was going on, it why I what I was asking what didn't seem to be coming across, and I still wasn't getting it. When I got back into the back to the back room, John asked me to have a private conversation with him quickly. Of course, I said yes. Um, and he was very honest, which I can appreciate, and told me that a couple of years ago he was in a really bad accident that he's okay now, but he was in the hospital for a really long time, and because of that, um, he just doesn't quite process things as quickly or at, as quickly as you would expect. Um, and that's why it took quite a few times for him to be able to answer my question. Um, and because he was honest with me, I was going to show him the same courtesy and explain to him about my stutter. I have a minor one that only really comes up in times when times of if I'm highly emotional or am frustrated about something, which is was the case in this situation, because I didn't understand why it wasn't coming across, and that it was getting I I was becoming frustrated because I had to continue repeating something over again when I was thinking this was the clearest possible way I could ask this question. So after that, the result of that was that I was there for more than 7 months before I left, actually, to start this college program, library and information technician. Um, and we, because in other situations, because we understood what was happening a little more, and the other person why why the other person wasn't getting the task they needed done, quite wasn't getting it. We were able to help each other um, throughout the time we were there, and got along really quite well, because on shifts that we were together and were working together, we made a very good team, because we were working with each other's strengths. So for me, that would be this speed at getting things done, for getting things done and out onto the floor, and for him, it would be um, moving moving things, carrying heavy boxes, or finding things that are on higher shelves that I can't see because he's quite tall. And because of that, I I appreciate John quite a bit, because he is one of the people that made that job enjoyable, quite enjoyable place to work in.